Welcome back to another episode of Rethink Real Estate. Today, we're talking about marketing planning for 2025. Chris and I dive into the intricate details of what a content plan needs to look like. But before that, before thinking about the content that you need to create, you've got to think about the audiences that you have. Breaking down your social media plan in the sense of what are the followers or friends that you currently have? Is that correlated to your database? And then what is the wider audience that you need in order to make sure that you are targeting people? Chris brings up an incredible point. You might only have 500 followers or you might have 1,000 followers, but none of them interact with you on a daily basis. And if they don't, you disappear. So you may have to use different level of audiences in order to actually engage them appropriately. Hopefully this helps as you dive into the 2025 planning and look deeper into what does 2025 hold for you as far as content, social media, and that word that everybody's using out there in the social space, content. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Well, Chris, we're drawing down to the end of the year.
Christmas is here, and Hanukkah, and everything else.
Mate, hilarious. If anybody watched the turkey trot video that we put out as a group, we had inflatable turkeys that we were doing a turkey trot in, or some of us did. And at the end of the filming, I go, does anyone want these costumes? I think we just throw them out. And Chris like, I'll take them home for the kids. Takes it home. So I see a photo on social media with Kennedy in the same turkey costume.
She thought it was the funniest thing ever. So I let her wear it. And it was so funny because it fits grown adults and she's 5. And so, but she thinks it's like the funniest thing ever. So she was wearing it a lot. So
very good, very good. Well, mate, as we dive into December now, I think that we need to start talking about the planning element side of things, and that's what we're going to try and make the December episodes about. Here is the planning episode, or the planning element of what people are thinking about in their business. Now, one of the things that I've stopped doing is that I've stopped doing my business plans in December. I'm actually doing them in January because I often find that when I do have a break over Christmas, I often lose the motivation and the momentum and the shot of adrenaline that planning gives me. Yep. And I think I've learned from a couple of years of doing so, but I definitely am in the process at the moment of writing down a great deal of ideas. You know, we're planning a little bit of that element. We've moved our planning as a company back to the very first week of January, the second week of January, and that's where we're going to do that. So let's talk about a couple of things from a marketing perspective that realtors should start to think of, or anybody in any real field should start to think of. And one of the things that I think that most people are intimidated about coming into 2025 is content is playing such a role within people's businesses now that I think that you've got to get ahead of it by way of a content plan, because we're currently going through the planning process of what does our content look like for 2025. We're going to touch on that in our end of year episode as well, in some of the places where we've had some shortfalls, some of the places we need to tighten things up a little bit. But let's start off with a content plan. What is one of the things that people have to sort of think about when they start thinking about a content plan from a realtor perspective, mate?
I think before you get into the actual content part of the content plan, you need to take a look at 2 big things, and it needs to be your audiences, and you need to clearly define both your audiences of who you're trying to go after as well as who you've been going after. So I think there's a little bit of a differentiating point in that. I could have been, only targeting buyers this last year, or just accidentally working with buyers for the entire year, and now I want to shift my content and my strategy over to trying to attract more sellers. That's where that becomes, or maybe I had too many sellers. Now I want to shift to buyers as well and kind of diversify my, my client list and everything like that. Or it could be as simple as maybe you have more connections now into military families or little things like that. Maybe you have more of a case study this last year of specific properties, and now you want to go after similar properties. Like it's a lot of those parts that I think people don't look at from a content plan. Is first, let's go after who you're trying to target. Yep. And then I would, the other big part of that before I would actually dive into content is I would look at which platforms I want to reach them on. And I think that's where content is very, very dependent on those 2 things of who I'm trying to reach and what platforms I'm trying to reach them on. Because if I'm trying to create content on TikTok, for example, it is vastly different than if I'm trying to create content on YouTube. or podcast platforms or anything like that. Like, so there's a big differentiation shift on what type of content you're actually going to deliver and create, based on the audiences and the platforms you're going to reach them on.
Great. So that's a really good point. So my head is absolutely spinning right now with a couple of different elements here. So let me verbally process this with you. I'm a realtor. Okay. I haven't been doing a great deal of content. I might do a market update here or a new listing video here and there where I've got myself in selfie mode where I'm quickly just showing people the listing. That really isn't tailored content because that really is just appealing to your followership so far. And you probably haven't done a followership audit where it's basically friends and family or whatever it looks like. It's probably not a great deal of people within a community that you're trying to appeal to. So first and foremost, obviously,
let me on that real quick. Your followership too would only be a portion of your followership. It would only be your most engaged portion of your followership. If you're posting from either your personal accounts or even your business accounts, it would be even worse at that point. What I mean by that is you may have 400, 500, 1,000 followers, but only a segment of those are actually seeing the content that you're throwing out there. So in order to engage more people of your followership, that would be another strategy as well. So while we think, hey, we'll post stuff up, people will share it, people will see it. All my friends and family will see it. All my sphere of influence who follows me, they'll see it. They might not. They just might not at that point. So
if they haven't engaged with your video or your page for a while, they absolutely don't. Like, for example, I follow 3,500 people and I probably see on social media in the 15 minutes I give myself in the morning to go through it, I probably only see 7 or 8 people consistently.
And you notice that once you search someone, you'll start seeing them like right at the top of your feed for the next couple of days to see if like Facebook or Instagram or all the other websites will actually try to see if you're trying to engage with them, or maybe you're just doing a quick research and stuff like that.
So let me ask you let me just verbally process this out and you're going to see the holes in this. So if I'm sitting down and I'm looking at this from a realtor perspective, I'm going through my current friends list and I'm definitely going to clean all of that up on a Instagram and on a Facebook perspective. I don't like LinkedIn from a realtor perspective. I just don't. And then TikTok, I still believe it's too much of a younger generation, that we're not appealing to the right people. And that's just me. It's just in my own head. You may or may not agree with that. But then YouTube is another element that you could look at also. But let's talk about the two main platforms of Facebook and Instagram. Let's go through the friends list on that. And let's obviously keep your friends and family, of course, but then the people that you don't know or that you haven't interacted with a while, and do a bit of an audit of that. And then from there, the thing I would probably do is then print my database off or look at my database, and I would go through and see and start ticking the boxes of who is on my database that are socially there or not. And then I'd start to probably search those people and request to follow them from them, and maybe send them a message at the same time and say, if you do have a relationship with them, if they are on your database, and then try and just make that a little bit more relevant followership, so to speak, or friends and family, or friends and followers perspective. Is that probably the way you'd do it?
100%. I would almost treat the time off of that Christmas break that most people kind of check out. I would treat that as like you're sending like digital holiday cards to everybody. Like I would look at that as a way for you to both friend request anybody in your database who you are not already friends with, whether it's past clients, whether it's prospective clients, anything like that. I would start friend requesting them. And then if they accept, I would shoot them a quick message, say, hey, I was just thinking about you during the holiday season. Hope you and the family are doing well. Would love to catch up with you in the new year. And send that message to them. And I watch a couple leads come through that, or people just kind of like, thankful that you're reaching out, because, holiday season is all about that reaching out and that connecting time. So it is a really soft entry from that standpoint. So I would use that time off, that December, 20th to the January 5th or whatever you're going to look at, as your time to build your business socially from that standpoint.
So then I'm going to segue across from there, okay, and I'm going to think about also then the people that I don't know that are not on my database, and I'm looking at a digital farming area as well, and how that's going to work. So from there, I'd probably partner with a title company, get a list of all the owners and the addresses and who's owner occupiers, and even if they're not owner occupiers as well, you can put them into the absentee owners list of an audience as well. Now, what I'm trying to do at this point, Chris, and tell me if this is right or wrong, I'm trying to get between my friends and family, my existing database, and then also my digital farming area, I'm trying to get an audience of about 1,000 people that I can then maybe target a little on social media. Because you made an incredible point just before, is that you may have, like, I know people that have 150,000 followers, but and I'm part of that followership, but I don't see them anymore on my feed because I just don't interact with them. So maybe paying for an ad like that's very cheap, okay, and we'll go through some of the numbers of how cheap it is to generate that stuff in our end of year episode. But I think that I would then probably do some format of content then, or my content plan portion of it would be for paid advertisements. Not all of it. It'll probably maybe be 1 or 2 pieces a month. And then this leads me now into my content plan, right? So once we've understood our audience from our own database, our current friends and followers to our own database, and whether or not we are friends or followers, and maybe the digital outreach program for them, and then into then my digital area to then create an audience of about 1,000 people. Now, why 1,000 people is because you need that in the meta suites in order to be able to then target those audiences, correct?
Correct. The only way of getting around that 1,000 people would be is if you have a decent amount. May say you have 800 followers or something like that, or 800 friends or 800 followers on your business account. One, you have to run these ads from a business account. You can't be running them from a personal account anyways. And so if you have 800 followers on your business account.
Sorry, mate. Let's double click on that. Sorry. Wait. You need a business account. So
from a standpoint of running ads, yes.
Okay, so maybe that's one of the things that people need to transition themselves to, is a business account then, because I guarantee you that I'd say more than 50% of realtors don't have business accounts.
No, a lot of it will be running in their personal accounts. And that's where I would say from a personal account standpoint, more messaging and kind of one-on-one interactions would be a lot more beneficial for people. So if I sent a message to you, all of a sudden, Ben, you would start seeing me in your algorithm a little bit more if you responded to it and it's a like in-kind message. So that's where I would say utilize the messaging apps. If you're just looking from a personal to personal account basis, send a message to Ben, hey, happy holidays. Just wanted to reach out real quick. Was thinking about you guys during the holiday season. Hope you and your family are well. Like all of a sudden, if Ben responds to that, hey, thank you so much. Thinking about you too. Happy holidays. Now Ben's going to see me in his algorithm. Like now I kind of skirted the thing where Ben might see me a little bit more than he used to, even though I didn't do much. Or I go comment on one of their photos, beautiful family. Hope you guys are having a great Christmas, whatever it is. Like,
well, here's a great example of that. I commented on your story when I saw Kennedy in the turkey thing, saying, "Is that the same costume?" And you're like, "Yep, sand and all." and mate, the remainder of your Thanksgiving was at the top of my feed in the stories for quite some time. Now, after I've got my audience side of things sort of worked out and figured out, then we build the content plan. And I think that now content plan is not just videos, because I'm assuming that, let's say you do a carousel of, I'm just thinking out loud, Costa Mesa sales this month, and that's the front tile, and then they've got to scroll to see the other tile. That's interaction with you. So I'm assuming, does that count towards the algorithm?
Yes, 100%. And again, those can be ads. So there could be a couple double plays in this. Like you could have a personal content plan. You could have your business page content plan. Like it could be as complicated as that. Or if you're just trying to focus on your business page for 2025, that's where, again, you can be putting together these, Costa Mesa market updates or Costa Mesa, home sales for the month of January. And you can put that together. You could then run an ad for that. And then you can then target the entire audience that you have from that standpoint. What I was getting at earlier from the 600 people who follow your business page is if you don't want to reach out to title and do all that part, boosting posts still is a easy, quick way to try and get in front of more people. So
does it work, mate? Does it work?
It's not the best end all be all, but it's going to help you reach the majority of your followers.
But when you boost the post, it reaches your followers. It doesn't reach your target audience.
You have a couple options, but the easiest option is I want it to go to my friends and my family, or I want it to go to people who follow this page. And so the quick option, if you want to just try to reach more of the people who actually already follow you, is by clicking on that and just boosting a post and putting $5-10 behind it. Like that is a quick, cheap way to not having to understand the entire ad platform or anything like that, and trying to get actually to the followers of your business page. But if you're trying to go as sophisticated as procuring new business and farming and doing a digital farming technique, that's where I think you're trying to pull in audiences from title and everything like that. And that's where I would try to cater my content around what are these people and what are their challenges and their trials and their tribulations. Because our number one ad this year that brought in 180 leads was talking about how a listing was stuck on the market, how it felt like there was an issue with the agent, and so like it wasn't their fault, but the listing was stuck. And so
could you do that? Could you so do you find that from a content plan perspective, perspective, you're going to have to plan out, X amount of content. Like what we're doing for our podcast at the moment is that I've got now a monthly format. Okay.
Yep.
I've got a guest speaker at the beginning. I've got me doing an episode of where it's just me giving some thoughts of a practical element you can implement in your business. I then have you from a marketing perspective. We've got an announcement where Tech Tony is going to be on with us as well. Okay. And then I'm back to a guest. Then it's me doing a practical, and then it's an end of month summary or whatever it looks like. But in essence, there is a structure there, okay, that we are going with. Now that being said, is that's probably not the same structure. That definitely is not the same structure as a realtor. You could do it over two days or a day or whatever it looks like.
I think the structure helps you stay accountable to creating content. I think that's where the structure makes a lot of sense. Like, there could be every first Monday of the month, it's a recap on the previous market, the previous month's market. And so I would do that as if I was an agent. I would do the home sales. Maybe it's the 15th of every month. I would do the 30 home sales that happened in the previous 30 days or something like that. So those are the big things where I think the content plan makes a lot of sense, is where if you actually have structure, it just keeps you on a routine. And we know routine's always better from that standpoint. But I think there should be a lot of flexibility on once something performs or once something takes off a little bit to your audiences, whether, brings in leads, whether it brings in good impressions, a lot of comments, a lot of interactions. I think double downing on that is going to be the stuff that's going to make you successful. So, maybe I put the 10 home buying tips for VA, home loans or something like that. And that goes wild. Okay, cool. Now I need to go and I need to do more military focused content because that's who my followers are going after. Or
could you do market-driven stuff? So like I'm just thinking about Costa Mesa at the moment because we said it.
Yep.
Like I know in the area where we are in Eastside
100%.
Costa Mesa, like I know right now that there's not a property. There's two properties on the marketplace between $2.5 million and $5 million. So you could go and just even if you didn't want to do a video on this, if you're not a video person, I'd draw like a visual around on a map, and highlight that section. Do you know that there's only this number of properties on the market right now? Question mark.
Yep.
Is now the right time for your property to come on the market or something like that, and target a particular audience.
And just giving more information. So I would maybe drill your content plan into how can you give more information, because people don't really understand that, where it's there's only 2 properties on the market right now. These are the only homes your home would be competing against right now, which is, you may think this is, a buyer's market or a seller's market or whatever. Everything matters about the exact neighborhood that you're in. If there's no homes in that neighborhood, all of a sudden it is a seller's market because everyone's looking for homes. They obviously haven't bought these 2. So maybe your home is going to stand out. Maybe your home's better in that standpoint. So explaining that in a video, whether it's, a talking head, whether that's a blog post, whatever that is, whether that's a podcast, just audio format, however you kind of feel comfortable of delivering that content, that's where the content type is so interesting in this standpoint, and it matters based on which platform you feel comfortable on. A lot of people feel comfortable in Twitter or X or whatever you would call it right now. Just writing a thread on how that matters could blow up for you and your followers at that point, or Reddit, or all these other places that might not be the norm that you're thinking of Facebook, Instagram. Wherever you feel comfortable, I would start, and wherever your audience is at is where I would start focusing your content plan on.
Yeah, I think that if I was starting again, I would probably go and get a tripod, get my iPhone, and do quick updates on quick little videos on things. Try to keep them to maximum length of 2 or 3 or 5 minutes. Now, I'm not saying you post that on Shorts. I'm not saying I would then just start building content on a YouTube page and use that as my hub. As the Ben Brady Real Estate Group, and I'd put all of the segments and the content. If you look at our Harcourt's Auctions one, you can actually tailor it to all different things. Then I would use that, and I would have a company chop that up for me to become a really short within 30 to 60 seconds, okay, to keep the attention span there, and use that longer format to then create my shorter format and then bring that out on a very consistent basis. Have my scheduled stuff every month that I think I should look at, and then reassess that, and then come up with some of the market relevant stuff within that month, like highest sale this month was X, and then just have a quick little flicker up of that, or it could be a static post. Refining that content plan is probably the most difficult thing that people will have to do within getting into 2025. But it's actually once you've done it, the sense of accomplishment. Like right now, I have my full first quarter of all the podcast episodes and everything that I'm going to speak about already planned. Okay, yep. and that is a huge relief and weight off my shoulders, and I'm actually excited about doing it.
The big thing too is I think we think it has to be our success and our listings and everything like that.
No.
Your job as the realtor is to provide market information and understanding the process of either buying or selling a home in today's market. Like that, think of it that way and not showing off your wins. Like because like Ben said, there could be a property that sold in your farm and that's the highest sale that happened in, January of 2025. Talking about that, even if it's not your listing, provides information and provides value and shows kind of that you are in tune with the market and you understand what's going on to your clients. So it has nothing to do with you actually selling the home or listing the home or anything like that. And there are people as naive as like they're not going to dive in and find out the agent who sold the home or helped buy the home. So you can kind of take self-credit, even though you're not taking self-credit, but you're just talking about 1, 2, 3, 4 State Street and the publicly available information that is reached out to the realtor database. And so you can take that and you can actually use that as content. So I think there's a lot of people who always hesitate to talk about other people's listings. It's not talking about the listings, it's talking about the market. And
the market.
You are engaging and you are educating about the market that you work in and understand that.
Well, I think that this is a topic that you can continue to talk about for hours, but that sort of gives a snapshot of how we'd go about the audiences and how we refine that as the over the holiday period to then perfect the content of which you're going to then send out. But Chris, thanks as always, mate.
Thanks, guys. Happy holidays.
So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.